If you own a rental and you're judging whether it's worth it by what hits your bank account every month, you're only looking at maybe a fifth of the picture. I want to walk you through the rest of it today because this is the stuff that actually explains why real estate builds wealth the way it does, and it's the stuff most people never sit down and calculate. Let's start with the number everyone fixates on: cash flow. That's just profit. Rent minus your mortgage, minus expenses, minus everything else that comes out along the way. It's real and it matters. It's what keeps the lights on and keeps you from panicking in a slow month. But here's what I want you to hear today. It's genuinely the smallest piece of why this works. Here's what's happening at the same time, whether you're paying attention to it or not. Your tenant or your guest, if you're doing short-term or mid-term like I do, is paying down your loan for you. Every single payment that comes in, a chunk of it goes straight to your principal balance. You don't do anything extra for that. It just happens quietly, month after month, for as long as you hold the property. Over 10 years, over 20 years, that adds up to real equity, and it has nothing to do with whether the market went up or down. Then there's leverage. And honestly, this is the one that changes how people think about buying in the first place. Say you buy a $400,000 property and you put 20% down. That's $80,000 out of your pocket. Now say that property goes up in value just 3% in a year. Nothing crazy, completely normal appreciation. That's $12,000 in gained value. But you didn't put in $400,000, you put in $80,000. So that $12,000 gain is actually a 15% return on your actual investment. You are getting appreciation on the full value of the property, even though you only paid for a fifth of it. That's the entire reason leverage is such a powerful tool. It's also why sitting on cash instead of buying real estate can quietly cost you more than people realize. And separate from all of that, there's the tax side. I always tell people, talk to your CPA. I'm not one. But rental property depreciation can let you show a paper loss in a year where the property is genuinely putting money in your pocket. That's a real legal advantage, and it's a big part of why a real estate investor and a W-2 employee earning the exact same income can end up with very different tax bills at the end of the year. So add it up: the rent check, the equity building quietly in the background, the leverage on appreciation, and the tax treatment. That's 4 different ways one single property is working for you at the same time. And most people are only tracking the first one. Now, I do midterm rentals specifically, and I want to explain why. Because I think there's a lot of confusion out there about long-term versus short-term versus midterm. Like, it's just about how long someone stays. It's really about risk and effort versus return. Long-term is the lowest effort. One tenant, one lease, 12 months of stability. But it's usually the lowest cash flow because you're not getting paid for flexibility or furnishing. Short-term, meaning nightly bookings, can pay the most on paper, but it's also the most work, the most turnover, and the most exposure if you have a slow month or two. Your income can swing a lot more than people expect going in. Midterm sits right in the middle on purpose. Furnished, 30 days or more, priced for convenience. You get a lot of cash flow upside of short-term without living and dying on nightly occupancy the way a short-term operator does. That's why I like it for a lot of owners I work with. And it's why I built my whole business around understanding this concept. A hybrid approach just means flexing between those models depending on the season or what the market's doing. You're not locked into one strategy for the life of the property. Now, here's where I think a lot of people actually go wrong, and it's not the math. It's earlier than that. It's the property itself. I've seen people fall in love with a house because it's cute or because it feels like a deal, and then they buy it and only afterwards start asking whether it's actually going to perform as a rental. By that point, the location's already picked. The floor plan's already locked in. There's nothing left to fix. The property decision has to come first, and it has to come from someone who actually understands rental performance, not just resale value, because those are 2 different skill sets. That's really the whole reason I do what I do. I'm not just helping someone buy a house. I'm helping them buy an asset that has to perform in a specific way, in a specific market, for a specific strategy, And that means looking at things a typical listing agent isn't trained to look at: occupancy patterns, furnished rental comps instead of just resale comps. What's the midterm demand actually look like in that specific neighborhood, not just the city overall? So here's what I want you to take away from this. Stop judging a rental purely by what shows up in your account every month. Look at what's being paid down in the background. Look at what leverage is actually doing to your return. Look at your tax picture with an actual professional. And before you ever get into any of that, make sure the property itself was chosen by someone who understands how rentals perform, not just how houses sell. If you want to actually run these numbers on a property you're looking at, or figure out whether long-term, midterm, or hybrid approach makes the most sense for what you're trying to do, that's exactly what the free intro call is for. Link is right below this video. Let's look at your real numbers instead of guessing. I'll see you on the next video.